Hey, Coach, appreciate you taking the time today.
Thanks.
Sorry you're stuck with me as your moderator again. We'll get started here with Mike Kay and then Ed Kraft.
Hey Nick, can you provide updates on Miles Sanders, Jordan Howard, Nate Herbig, Kayvon Wallace, and Brandon Brooks?
Sure.
I know it's a
The
lot.
Yeah, I'll go through it one at a time. So Nate, I'm looking down at my sheet. He had a knee sprain. He could have returned if we needed him to. Um, Jordan Howard, we MRI came back good, and again, we're hopeful. I'm not going to put any timetables on anybody, but we're hopeful for Jordan. Miles did break his hand. Um, and obviously he'll be out this week, and then we'll reevaluate after a week. We're hopeful we can get him back at some point this season, so he will not be going to IR. Kayvon Wallace had a hip pointer; he should be fine. And the last one with Brooks, yeah, no new update.
Had Ed and then Dave.
Hi, Nick. Jalen Hurts only had 2 carries yesterday. I wonder if that was just the game plan. Was it just kind of protecting his ankle? And then what does it say about his development as a passer that he's able to win a game like he did with just 2 runs?
Yeah, and that was actually similar to the game last week, right? With how he played, having 2 quarterback ratings over 100, and not doing it a lot with his legs. So I think it says a lot about his development and what he's done. But no surprise there. Jalen works like crazy to get better, and he's just getting better each week. And so and you always you're going to have some down games here and there. I know he'll always want that first Giants game back, but these last 2 games have been really good for him. As far as our plan, yeah, a little bit is what the defense was giving us, and a little bit was just being extra careful with his ankle. But I think we're past that point. I think we're able to do anything he needs to do for us to win the football game. So that means just playing how we need to play to win. And so I don't see there being any restrictions moving forward.
Go ahead, Dave, and then John McMullen.
Hey Nick, with the NFL hiring cycle about to get started here again, it seems like Jonathan Gannon's name is already starting to come up. So first off, how do you think he would be as a head coach? And secondly, have you given much thought to how you want to handle these situations as a head coach, as some of your staff might get interest elsewhere?
Yeah, that's good. Thanks, Dave. That's a good question. I think Jonathan would be an awesome head coach. I really wanted to make a joke right there and be like, he'd be terrible because I really want him to keep. I want to keep him here, because I think so highly of him. But I think he'd be awesome. Again, for the same reasons I hired him to be our defensive coordinator. It'd be the same reasons I think he'd be a really good head coach. And so obviously, when people on your staff and people in the building are getting get opportunities like that or get mentioned in that means you're doing some good things. And so that's the plan. Like that's what you always want as a coach, for your coaches to get the opportunities because you've been doing well. And so obviously that's flattering. What was your second question on that?
Just how do you handle those situations? Have you given thought to how you'll handle them as they arise, whether it's for head coaching jobs or just promotions elsewhere?
Yeah, I guess the way I would handle it is similar to I guess I go back to those situations I went through. I always wanted to make sure, obviously, that I got my work done before, for the team that I was currently working for, before I did anything to get ready, for any head coaching opportunities. And so I was really only presented with that chance a couple times, or one time in particular, back in 2018, and there was a conflict between an interview and a game, and I just thought that, that game to our team was more important than anything else. And so I would anticipate, my suggestion to our coaches has always been, make sure you're ready before the season even starts for your head coaching opportunities. Again, because this is an experience that I was able to go through. That way, when you're in the season, your sole focus is on winning that football game and doing what we need to do to help the organization that we're in now. And so that's my message to these guys. And, yeah.
Go ahead, John, and then Tim McManus.
Hey, Nick, can you give me your thoughts on TJ Edwards from an offensive perspective, what he's added to your defense? It seems you guys really took off when he got placed in the middle there, and kind of wondering what your thoughts are and what he's added to your team.
Yeah, he plays with great physicality. He's constantly ripping at the football. Very smart player, and so that's the one thing that I really, and the couple things that really stand out for me again as an offensive coach looking at the defense is, hey, you're going to get thumped when you go across the middle. You're going to get thumped when you come through the backfield, and you better protect that football. Again, I know the strip attempt, we're not getting a ton of fumbles out, but they're coming. They'll TJ is at the head of that because he is constantly ripping at that football. So. Those are the main things that stand out, and I just think he's playing really good football right now, and he's doing a great job leading the defense.
We'll go to Tim and then Bo.
Hey, Nick, two really quick COVID-related questions, if I can. Number one, with your return, did you test negative upon return, or did you do the new CT value of 35 or greater?
Yes, both.
Both. Okay.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
the second, okay. So the second one is obviously there's a pretty good surge going on right now. Are you doing anything further with your protocols, and have you rethought separating the quarterbacks at this point?
Yeah. So we definitely did different things that weren't mandated a couple weeks ago, and we're going to continue with that. We are talking through it even more so as a staff. Today, I talked to a couple other head coaches and tried to figure out what they're doing, because we all know we're gonna need to win this game this week. We're gonna need all hands on deck, and so what is the best course of action? And obviously, I'm talking to our doctors and our trainers to figure out the best course of attack. And we're going to make some adjustments. I'm not there 100% yet because I don't have to be quite yet, Tim, with with the players not being back yet. But we're going to definitely make even more adjustments than what we need to, just to keep everybody safe. And the quarterbacks, yes, the quarterbacks will be in separate rooms, and we're going to be even more safe with them being in separate rooms.
Go ahead, Bo, and then Jeff.
Hey, Nick, having watched the film, what were the plays that you and Jalen might want to have back in that first half? And then also very, very quickly, is there a Davion Taylor update just to add him to the list of injured guys?
Davion Taylor, no, I got no new update on him. But with Jalen and myself, there was a couple of throws that I thought, I'm like, man, he missed that one. And I think to the naked eye, you could be like, man, he missed that one. But, there was a stop route on the boundary to Jalen Reagor, and he kind of skipped it to him. Well, when you look at it, the guy gets close to hitting his arm, and he tips the ball. So that's where that died. And then, there's a missed throw that to me in the game looked like he missed it on a flat route to Miles. If you guys know which one I'm talking about, it was early in the game. We were backed up. It was first quarter. It looked like he missed it to Miles. And on second look at it, Miles' angle was at 8 yards, and Jalen's throwing it to a spot at 5 yards because that's exactly where Jalen's expecting him to be. And so those were the two, in the game, I'm like, gosh, let's go. Let's hit that right there. We need that. And neither of them were his fault. So really my point of saying all that is the only two I really want back, because I thought he was great with his decisions and was doing things that, that he needed to do to help us win the game. But the only two I want back is the ball security that came out, that Dallas Goedert was right there to recover. And then the one where he threw an interception that got overturned. So it was just those two of being careless with the football that I want back for him. Otherwise, again, things that may have looked like that were Jalen's fault were not Jalen's fault. And I think that's important that you're not obviously outside world, you're not always going to know that. And you're not always going to know the other way either, right? When it was Jalen's fault, when it didn't look like it was Jalen's fault. But so really looking at that, those are the two, the ball security things are what we want back. And I'm going to talk to him even a little bit more later today.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Jeff, and then Zach.
Nick, is Brandon Brooks' absence related to injury or something else?
Yeah, Jeff, no new update right there. Still working through that pec strain.
Does he have a chance to be back this season?
Again, no timetable. We're playing each week by week, and trying to figure it out.
Zach and then Martin.
Hey, Nick, whether it's coincidence or not, you guys and the Colts have had similar kind of in-season turnarounds here, and you were a part of this in Indy in past years as well. Is there anything to that, and how do you get it so your team is playing its best ball in December and January?
Yeah, I think there's a lot to that in the sense that, what Frank was so good at preaching was how do we get, I know you guys have heard me say this a million times, how do you get a little bit better each day? And it is that is our intensity at practice. It is our detail and walkthrough and our full speed to the snap and walkthrough and our detail in meeting, starting with the coaches and then to the players. And if you can be in this trajectory, or if you will, let your roots grow, your flower roots grow, right? All right, okay. All right, but if you can be in that trajectory where you're doing this a little bit more each day and you can truly live by that and just know that I'm not thinking about, right? I'm not thinking when the outside world might be thinking about playoffs. I'm thinking about how I'm going to get better today, to get better tomorrow, to get better the next day, to get the next day, so we can go 1-0 this week. And it's just staying in the moment and going little bit at a time. And when you're in this trajectory, I don't think every team thinks that way. And I know it. I know it doesn't. I've been on different teams. And so if you can get a little bit better and people level out at the end of the year, you're going to pass teams up. And so that's, I saw it work firsthand with Frank leading it that way. And again, I always thought that was an unbelievable message. Regardless of the situation you're in, right? Whether you start 2-5, whether we were in Indy, we started 1-5. I believe Indy this year may have been 1-4. I can't remember exactly, but you just stay the course and you chip away at it. You can't, just like you can't score if you're down 17 points or you can't score a 17-point touchdown. Or in Frank's case, right? I get the best guy to ever learn from there. If you're down 30, this 30 for 30 was just on. If you're down 31-3 in the second half of the AFC divisional round against Houston Oilers, you can't score it all in one shot. So it's just staying in the moment and going a little bit each time. And I learned that a lot from Frank, and I know our guys believe in that, and I know our coaches believe in that, and we just talk about it every day. What are we going to do to get a little bit better today to put us in a position to go 1-0 this week?
We have time for two more, so go ahead, Martin, and then Rob Motti.
Hey, Nick. I want to ask you about Boston Scott. I mean, here's a guy, obviously didn't play at all for 6 games, on offense. And it seems like every time you need him to come in, he does the job for you. And obviously with Miles going to be out this Sunday and, Jordan's situation up in the air. I mean, how important does a guy like Boston Scott become to have on the team? And also like the running game in general, like how important do you see that, especially like in December and January, playoff stuff is on the line? Thanks.
Yeah, for sure. Just Boston is a guy that, has kind of just every time he's called upon, exactly what you're saying has came through. And we have no doubt that he'll be able to do the same thing this week when called upon. And he did it yesterday. And so it's great to be able to have that type of depth, and I think when you really look at it, we got a good group of backs. We got 4 backs that I think a lot of teams would like to have. So, I think there's a lot of teams out there that are looking and being like, man, how do we get Boston Scott on our team? How do we get this type of group of backs that if there's an injury, we seamlessly don't miss a beat when the next guy comes in. And so great credit to Howie and his staff of building that depth. And then just great credit to Boston, knowing that he can make those plays, and just being there, and stepping in when he's called upon. And I'm sure, I know Boston wants even more opportunities, and he deserves more opportunities. We're just a really deep group at back, but when his number is called, which it will be more and more this week, I got no doubt that he's going to come through. And then as far as running the ball, sorry, I didn't answer your other question. As far as being able to run the football, particularly in December, especially out here in the Northeast, you got to be able to, right? Because you just never. What a beautiful day we had yesterday, right? On December 26th, to be able to have the sun shining like it was, and everything, the temperature like it was. But we know that's I grew up in the Northeast over there in Jamestown, New York. I know that's a rarity at this time of the year. And so, less bad things can happen when you hand the ball off. And so we definitely need, especially when the weather is not the way you want it to be. So we definitely rely on that run game, particularly this time of the year.
Go ahead, Rob.
Hey, Nick, the end result yesterday for Jalen was a passer rating over 100 and a pretty good game all around. How much more do you learn about him, though, that he had to overcome that first half to get there, as opposed to if it was consistent start to finish? Do you get more out of, or do you learn more about his resiliency that way?
Yeah, I don't ever want to test it, though. You're probably, hey, with the starting slow or anything like that. But again, yeah, he is a resilient guy. He's able to fight through and stay in the moment, and I think that's what you want out of all your players. I know that's what you want out of all your players. To be able to put those, I kind of explained it earlier too, like to be able to put those the ball, it was all about the ball and not, having those things that happened early on in the game with the football where they were a little careless with football, and then put that out and being able to move on. And he did the same thing in the Washington game. Again, we can't have that situation, but he's rebounded nicely, and then that goes back to his last game before these two games, these 200 quarterback ratings plus, these last two games was his worst game, right? We all know that. The game he played against the Giants was his worst game of the year, and see how he's rebounded from that, right? And so it speaks so much. The guy's got great character. The guy's got great football character. Just what you want out of your quarterback and one of your leaders. And so, again, I didn't think the first half was as bad as I initially thought, and I really wasn't all bad. It was more about the first quarter. I thought it was a little bit more than I thought, and then when you watch the tape, it was as an offense, but when you watch the tape for the quarterback, it wasn't as bad as I thought. It was just those two things that we talked about with the ball, but great resiliency from our quarterback, and that's what you need, because the rest of the guys will follow.
All right, thanks for the time, Coach.
Thanks, everybody.